Hi, boys and girls. So yesterday I was telling you how in the early parts of our country's history, there was something called slavery. And slavery was where people actually owned people who were black and made them work for them for free. It's not a very nice thing that we have in our history. And then in the 1860s, so that would be more than 60 years ago, there was a war between the northern states and the southern states. And after that war, President Lincoln freed the slaves. And then we did not have slavery in our country after that, at least not legally. But that doesn't mean that people automatically treated black people the same as they treated white people. In fact, for 100 more years, black people were not treated the same. They didn't get to vote for president. They didn't get to do the things that white people did, like they couldn't go and sit in the front row of the movie theater. They couldn't ride on the buses and sit up front. They had to sit in the back. Their kids could not go to school with white kids. There was a lot of really ugly behavior that happened. If a black person tried to do the same things as white people, they could go to jail, they could be beaten, even worse. And I want to read a story to you today that came about, or is written about, the time of Dr. Martin Luther King. In the 1960s, when my parents were young, my mom would have been in her teen years and dad as well, but in the 1960s, there was a time when the black individuals in our country and Martin Luther King Jr. and other famous leaders said, hey, you know what, this is not fair. We shouldn't have to do the things that are not as good as the white people do. We should be able to get the same things and go to the same places and do the same things. Imagine if you were black in that time and you were not allowed to sit close to the movie theater screen. You had to sit up in a balcony far away. And that's the way it was. It just was not the same for black people as it was for white people. And so Martin Luther King Jr. and other leaders said, hey, this is wrong. And they started marching, and they were very peaceful, but they were just trying to call attention to the things that were wrong in America. Because in America, it's supposed to be freedom for everyone, but it wasn't that way. Even when they said that America was a place where people could be free, black people were not free. So then they had their freedom, but that didn't mean that they got to do the same things as whites. And so I have this book called Freedom Summer, and this takes place in the 1960s. During the 1960s, they changed some laws. There were laws where black people could not go to the same places as white people. And laws were changed that said, hey, that's just not fair. This is America. And black and white people should both be able to do the same things. And so the laws started to change. Now, that doesn't mean people's hearts started to change. That would take a lot longer. And still today, there are people whose hearts have not changed about whether or not white people and black people are the same or equal or should be treated equally. So I thought I'd read this story to you called Freedom Summer. It's one of my very favorite books. I actually got this book when I was a college student learning to be a teacher, and I think I've read it every year since then, so I've probably had this book for 20 years. Freedom Summer. What does it mean to you to be free? To be free? Think about that. John Henry Waddell is my best friend. His mama works for my mama. Her name is Annie Mae. Every morning at 8 o'clock, Annie Mae steps off the county bus and walks up the long hill to my house. If it's summer, John Henry is stepping it right beside her. If you look, this little boy, and here's John Henry Waddell, his best friend. How are they the same? Well, they're both little boys, but how are they different? He would be white and he would be black. But as kids, did they care? No, they just cared about who each other was, and they played together, which is wonderful. We like to help Annie Mae. We shell butter beans, we sweep the front porch, we let the cats in, then chase the cats out of the house until Annie Mae says, "Shoo, enough of you two, go play." We shoot marbles in the dirt until we're too hot to be alive. Then we yell, "Last one in is a rotten egg." And we run straight for Fiddler's Creek. John Henry swims better than anybody I know. He crawls like a catfish, blows bubbles like a swamp monster, but he doesn't swim in the town pool with me. He's not allowed. So we dam the creek with rocks and sticks to make a swimming spot, then holler and jump in wearing only our skin. So when he says they dam the creek, they put some rocks up to hold some water in, to block the water from flowing out, to make a swimming hole. But is John Henry allowed to go to the pool? No. And why not? Because he's black. John Henry's skin is the color of brown butter. He smells like pine needles after a good rain. My skin is the color of the pale moths that dance around the porch light at night. John Henry says I smell like a just washed sock. "This means war," I shout. We churn that water into a white hurricane and laugh until our sides hurt. Then we float on our backs and spout like whales. "I'm going to be a fireman when I grow up," I say. "Me too," says John Henry. I have 2 nickels for ice pops, so we put on our clothes and walk to town. John Henry doesn't come with me through the front door of Mr. Mason's general store. He's not allowed. "How you doing, young Joe?" asks Mr. Mason. He winks his eye and says, "You going to eat all those by yourself?" My heart does a quick beat. "I got one for a friend," I say, and scoot out the door. "Yes, sir, it's mighty hot out there," Mr. Mason calls after me. "I love ice pops," says John Henry. "Me too," I say. Now I want you to think about this. You're going to the store, you're going to buy a treat, but you're not allowed to go in. Your friend has to go in and pick out your treat. How would you feel? I feel pretty sad. Like somebody thought my friend was better than me. I'm pretty sure that's probably how John Henry feels. Annie Mae makes dinner for my family every night. She creams the corn and rolls the biscuits. Daddy stirs his iced tea and says, "The town pool opens tomorrow to everybody under the sun, no matter what color." That's the new law, Mama tells me. She helps my plate with peas and says, "It's the way it's going to be now. Everybody together. Lunch counters, restrooms, drinking fountains too." I wiggle in my chair like a doodle bug. "I gotta be excused," I shout, and I run into the kitchen to tell John Henry. "I'm going to swim in the town pool," he hollers. "Is it deep?" "Real deep," I tell him. "And the water's so clear, you can jump to the bottom and open your eyes and still see." "Let's be the first ones there," says John Henry. "I'll bring my good luck nickel and we can dive for it." Aren't they excited? They get to go together finally. Next morning, as soon as the sun peeks into the sky, here comes my best friend, John Henry Waddell, running to meet me. "Let's go," he yells. "I got my nickel." And I run right with him, all the way to the town swimming pool. We race each other over the last hill and we stop. Why do you think they stopped? County dump trucks are here. They grind and back up to the empty pool. Workers rake steaming asphalt into the hole where sparkling clean water used to be. One of them is John Henry's big brother, Will Rogers. We start to call to him, "What happened?" But he sees us first and points back on down the road. It means get on home. So, the county pool, this is the pool, all the water had been drained out. And it's gone now. And the county, which is the people who work for the city, has dump trucks. And they're filling the pool up to the top with asphalt, which is what they made roads with. So they're just filling the pool. So it can't be used anymore. Why would they do that? But our feet feel stuck. We can't budge. So we hunker in the tall weeds and we watch all morning until the pool is filled with hot, spongy tar. Smoky steam rises in the air. Workers tie planks to their shoes and stomp on the blacktop to make it smooth. Will Rogers heaves his shovel into the back of an empty truck and climbs up with the other workers. His face is like a storm cloud, and I know this job has made him angry. "Let's go," a bossman shouts, and the trucks rumble slam down the road. Why do you think John Henry is angry about filling the pool up with asphalt? So on the very day black people are going to be able to swim in the pool, they fill it up so it can't be swam in anymore. And John Henry, his brother, Will, had to do it. And the whole time he's doing it, he realizes they don't want black people in their pool. How would you feel? It's so quiet now. We can hear the breeze whisper through the grass. We sit on the diving board and stare at the tops of the silver ladders sticking up from the tar. My heart beats hard in my chest. John Henry's voice shakes. "White folks don't want colored folks in their pool." "You're wrong, John Henry," I say. But I know he's right. "Let's go back to Fiddler's Creek," I say. "I don't want to swim in this old pool anyway." John Henry's eyes fill up with angry tears. "I did," he says. "I wanted to swim in this pool. I want to do everything you can do." I don't know what to say. But as we walk back to town, my head starts to pop with new ideas. I want to go to the dairy dip with John Henry, sit down and share root beer floats. I want us to go to the picture show, buy popcorn and watch the movie together. I want to see this town with John Henry's eyes. We stop in front of Mr. Mason's store. I jam my hands into my pockets while my mind searches for words to put with my new ideas. My fingers close around 2 nickels. "Want to get an ice pop?" John Henry wipes his eyes and takes a breath. I want to pick it out myself. I swallow hard and my heart says yes. Let's do that, I say. I give John Henry one of my nickels. He shakes his head. I got my own. We look at each other. Then we walk through the front door together. It's hard for me to read that book and not get emotional. You know, during the 60s, when black people were finally standing up and saying, hey, look, this is not fair, it really did take their white friends standing beside them and pushing to make the world a better place for everybody. So there were white people who had friends who were black who also believed in the cause of making sure that things were equal and fair in our country, which is what is supposed to be. I always find it very hard to understand why a person's skin color is used to decide if they're a worthy person or a good person. You know, I'm called white, but I'm not white. I don't know anybody that is this color. But I'm called white. I also don't know anybody who's truly black. In our country, we call certain people white who have come from families from Europe, like France, Spain, well, I guess England, Scotland, and Ireland are some of the obvious ones. People that come from those countries have a lighter skin color, and those people are called white. But families and people who come from the continent of Africa have a darker color of skin, and they are considered to be black. But the truth is, there are no people who are really white and black. We're all different colors in between. And that's just our skin and how we're born. We don't get to decide what we look like on the inside or the outside. All we really can do is work on our hearts and our minds to be the best people that we can be. And that happens no matter what color you are. So our country has some very sad history. And so many people have worked very hard to change that. And it's still happening today. So I want you to think about what it might have been like to live back then. How would you have felt if some of your friends could not go somewhere with you? How would you have felt if you couldn't go with your friends? Have a good day.